Janet Fogg shows us her freehand feather techniques and also shares her secrets for staying on track. And we'll gather up some loose threads, so stay tuned. But right now we're joined by Janet Fogg. Janet is an award-winning quilter, known for her innovative uses of traditional quilt blocks and her beautiful freehand work. Welcome, Janet.
Hi, Linda.
I am so happy to have you here and to let the viewers know a little bit more about you. And I've seen your quilts for several years and just they're breathtaking to me, and I just love your work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How long have you been a long arm quilter?
Well, I got my machine about 9 years ago, and of course, like most people, started a business and did that for about 6 years.
So you quilted for other folks?
I did.
I bet they're happy with their quilts now.
And they're very happy. I never got any of my own quilts done during that time, and struggled to fit one in now and then.
I know how that goes. That's, yeah, we're so busy.
Yes. So about 3 years ago, I retired from my quilting business and have concentrated on making competitive quilts.
So you're pretty competitive.
I am. And I teach as well, so between those two.
And I understand you also have an art background.
I do. I have a Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design and Illustration.
Well, that must help with the work.
And I actually worked as an art director for several years before the kids were born, and then I left that career to stay home and raise them, and that's when the quilting came in. Kind of as a sanity release.
I understand that.
So that's kind of how it's evolved.
That's
and I've
wonderful.
sewn my entire life, so I was able to combine the sewing and
the art
and the designs.
What a natural thing for you. Well, you have brought some of your award-winning, gorgeous quilts today, so let's talk about each one of them.
Okay. First one is Kitty Corner, which is hanging back there. And what I like to do, Linda, is set a design parameter for myself when I'm starting a project, because I think I can come up with a more interesting quilt that way. And usually what I do is start with a quilt block and start to brainstorm about that quilt block. In this case, it's Puss in the Corner, which is a traditional block. And therefore, the kitty up in the corner is reinforcing the name of the quilt block.
Oh, the names of your quilts are just...
And I have a good time titling my quilts.
Oh, they're wonderful.
They probably partially from that advertising background I have. I like working with copy and coming up with the names of the quilts. But that's an obvious one with Kitty Corner. It's playing off the actual block itself.
And the feathering that you did in the plain blocks, you know, you've left enough design, you know, space for you to show off your quilting as well.
Right, and I've used alternating spiraling feather, which I will show later.
Oh, okay.
So, and everything's done freehand, and I do not mark the quilts at all.
Okay.
So that's
You're like
the way
me
I
then.
work.
Yeah, you're just like me. That's great.
So actually, none of those spirals are identically the same.
I
but
love
it
that.
Doesn't matter.
I love that. That's what gives it the personality. And the fabrics are just gorgeous.
The fabric is beautiful, and I am very fortunate to work and collaborate with a hand dyer named Jeanette Viviano. She lives nearby, and she works very closely with me and gives me just wonderful palettes to work with.
Oh, that's fabulous.
The next quilt is Pineapple Rings, which is over here, and it's playing off the pickle dish pattern.
Oh.
And I've transformed the pickle dish into an actual pineapple. And when you're far away from it, it really does read as a pineapple.
Definitely. Oh, definitely.
And obviously the shading of the fabric helps with the dimensional quality of the pineapple.
And again, all that beautiful space where you've done your feathers.
And actually on that one I did some trapunto very simply by hand basting the batting with 3 rows. One to indicate where the spine would be, because that's a spineless feather. And then each of the 2 edges. And then I cut away, so it's a very quick application. And these are big stitches, about 1 or 2 inches.
So you hand basted that onto it?
Yeah, but it takes just minutes because it's such big stitches.
Oh, cool.
And then
we'll have to have you back and show us that trapunto method.
Yeah, and then I cut away, load it, and then after I've stitched the first side, I will just take my finger and pull that thread out, and it goes very quickly.
Wow.
It's,
Cool.
you know, not a precise trapunto method, but it works for
It certainly
something like
worked for
that. That's
that.
just a channel.
So I know
So,
you've won many awards with that too.
Thank you.
Okay,
yes.
and the next quilt?
The next quilt is Family Tree, and that's an interesting one. I worked with another piecer on that one. We did a trade. I had her piece my 8 feathered star blocks in exchange for some quilting. And then I set those together as a quilt top, just with the black fabric and the gold print, and mounted that onto the quilt frame. And I built that peach tree improvisationally as I was quilting with a method I call applique quilting.
Applique quilt.
I prepared them ahead of time so they were turned under and just placed them on and stitched them on. So there is no applique
Isn't
stitch.
it wonderful to be able to do that with our Longarm machine? Oh yes, well that's what people think, but it's a method.
No, but
so that's great.
it's actually works really well.
Yeah.
And it was fun to actually create that tree.
And I like the contrasting thread. You really do a lot with your contrasting thread to bring out the fabric color and then subdue the background. And I really like that. Ooh, our next quilt is?
The next quilt, I guess, will be They Came by Canoe, which is the Canoe quilt, and that features the flying geese pattern. And in this case, the flying geese construct the canoe, and they're done in perspective. So each one has a separate template, and it's quite involved. And all my quilts are predominantly pieced quilts, which is
I think that makes them so special too, really.
they're very technical.
Very.
I start with a very engineered drawing and a number for each piece and registration marks, and so it's quite an ordeal. And but you know, really once it's drawn and set.
How long does it take you to do a quilt, say average?
These quilts take me probably 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months on one quilt. But they're
I seem to always
incredible.
have 2 or 3 going at once.
Oh yes.
So
Too many ideas.
I don't keep
stay.
track of time or numbers of bobbins or anything like that because I really don't want to know.
And one more quilt.
And one more is, again, my other cat. That's titled Neferkiti, and she's sitting as an Egyptian princess.
Oh. Do you have cats?
I have 3.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
I should back up and introduce you to Charlie.
That's Charlie.
That
that's
was
your
Charlie, and the joke on that quilt is that Charlie is a Maine Coon that never grew beyond 8 pounds.
I see, okay.
There were great promises of him being upwards of 25 to 30 pounds, so here he is larger than life.
Quilters and cats and chocolate all go together.
Yes.
So let's see what you
Okay.
are going to show us today. We'll bring the machine over here.
I'm going to do 2 connected spiraling feathers and kind of talk about how I keep track when I'm quilting. I use little mental commands for myself, and I visualize things to help me know where I'm at, because of course when we're quilting
you do freehand
and on freehand, you can lose track very easily.
Right.
And I just reinforce the little skills in my head just by kind of talking to myself. So we'll pull up. And when I'm building a feather, I visualize the loops of the feather when I'm on an outer curve as being little children out at play, and they stand shoulder to shoulder, kind of at the same height. And then when they're on an inner curve, my little tool is to think of them as coming in at nap time. And they need to cradle one another. And so they sit differently on an inner curve than an outer curve.
So visualizing, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
I will start. So I'm going to spiral in, and as I enter that circle, I come in at the half point and the half point, and then I start with my
feathers on the way down. These are the napping.
These are napping, so the heads are kind of resting at the center point, more like you would rock a baby at your tummy level, and rocking further down onto the spine.
Oh, they're beautiful. Beautiful. You just feel that rhythm, don't you? Just get into a rhythm of doing
Getting
that.
there.
Yeah, it's hard when you have a machine you haven't
It's a
worked
new
on
machine,
before.
yeah.
That's right.
Starting to get the groove there.
There we go.
Now I will want to get back up there because I'm only going to have a single spine. So I go
Okay.
ahead and put my echo in to get back up to the tip.
You so fast.
This might be a little faster than mine.
Here, we can turn it down just a little bit.
Yeah, that's better.
So you echoed back up, and now you do the same
Same thing.
on the way back.
I go a little faster. This is a little slower.
Is that slow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm amazed, you know, you don't use a regulated stitch, so you do this all manually. Your work is phenomenal. Moving that at an even speed is quite an art, I think, learning to do that. But then 9 years ago, they didn't have regulated stitch, so that's how you
right.
learn.
And sometimes I think I'm a better quilter because of it.
Yeah.
'Cause
I was the same way, and oftentimes people are afraid to go into manual when they've worked with the regulated because they feel like they couldn't do the same. But I think it's nice to practice with it. It's such a
Yeah.
nice freedom to the machine. Oh, that is just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Wow.
kind of like driving a different car.
Yeah, it is.
What I really want to show is how the next one connects. But we'll
Okay.
get there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
So you echo that back up. You can see how fast a feather can be done.
Now when I start the other one, I will come off of one of these little points
Okay.
between, they're not, let's do it right here.
So you can pick anywhere that you need to.
Yeah, usually like on that quilt I use the blocks as my placement, but I can come off anywhere. So baby's rocking again. So you want to really come down on that spine more on the inner curve. Ooh, almost took off there. So I'm not going to worry about how that ends.
Oh, okay. Because that's what
No
I would
matter
be worried
what's
about.
left is I'm going to just touch there.
Okay. Oh, I
So
see.
it can be a very slender slice.
And that looks like a feather's coming right out from
Yeah.
it. Oh, wow. That is a secret. I love it.
I didn't think I could teach you anything, Linda.
Oh, absolutely.
But what I
learn
like
from
about
everybody.
this is that there's never any worry about the finish.
Uh-huh. Oh, that is just so neat.
So you could really come off in any direction.
In anything.
Spin around, going any way, and then coming home is easy because you're just going to tap that edge wherever you hit it. And it will just appear as if it came from behind. So again, these kids are out at play. They're lining up shoulder to shoulder. I do like to get larger as I
Get down toward the bottom of the
so
feather.
kind of how we stood in line in the schoolyard in order of height. So once again, I'm not worrying about fitting 3 or 4 loops there. I'm just gonna
See, and
make
I would
them
be
the-
totally panicked there. I just think this is so cool. And you
Boom,
just tap
back
it
up.
and then go back up. That is terrific. Well, you have certainly showed us a wonderful technique today. I'm just so impressed. This is just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sure the viewers have enjoyed getting to know you as well as I have.
Oh,
Thank you so
it's been
much
a
for
pleasure.
coming.
Okay.
You bet.
All right, thanks.